Thank you all for joining us. I'm Sarah Abel. I am the programs chair and Madam Veep for EatDenver, and thank you for being here as we kick off May's Health and Wellness Month. My day job, I am a partner at Baltz & Company and work with a lot of independent restaurants around the country, and very, very proudly work with OpenTable, who's our very generous sponsor today of this panel and this conversation. So before I introduce our fabulous guest, I'd like to thank Kristen and Cassie for their thoughtful work driving this train, the wonderful team at Ophelia's for welcoming us and feeding us, Spiritless for keeping us hydrated with unleaded fabulous drinks, and our dynamite MC, Seth Rankin, Senior Director of Key Accounts at OpenTable, but today he shall only answer to Mr. Birthday Boy. So happy birthday, Seth. He's going to kill me by the end of the day. So I am really delighted to introduce my dear friend and fellow Led Zeppelin devotee, Mickey Bakst, co-founder of Ben's Friends. He is the unofficial mayor of Charleston, South Carolina, and he is a legend in the hospitality industry. He ran Charleston Grill for over 15 years. He's raised millions of dollars to feed the need, which helps fill the bellies of the most vulnerable members of our communities. And most importantly, and why he's here today, is he co-founded Ben's Friends, a support group to help food and beverage professionals who struggle with addiction and substance abuse. And quick PSA, if you don't know, Ben's Friends runs a free Zoom every day at 11 a.m. Mountain, as well as late night meetings Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 9 p.m. Mountain for anybody who needs a lending hand, an ear, a support group. They're amazing. They're nationwide. You can go onto the website for more information, and I'm sure Mickey will talk more. So he's been sober since December 14th, 1982.
An old guy.
An OG, we like to say. And he's an inspiration and tireless advocate for our industry. He's a really longtime friend of ours. Both Seth and I, I've known him for a very long time. He flew in from Charleston to share his firsthand strategies, and I just love him to death. Thank you for being here. Without further ado, pass it over to these two. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, hello.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah, just another quick shout out to EatDenver. You guys run some phenomenal programs, and thank you for allowing us to pull this together. Thank you. So Mickey, I met Mickey, I guess it was probably 2 years ago at NRA. And I walked over to the booth. I wanted to meet with the other founder, and you popped out from behind the booth.
The other founder owns a lot of restaurants, so OpenTable wanted to talk to them.
Why do you have to tell all our secrets? But Mickey pops out from behind the booth, and I immediately felt this warmth and hospitality and could tell that he was passionate about everything he does. And so he shared the vision and mission of Ben's Friends with me at that moment. And I've been a huge fan ever since. Fast forward to about 2 months ago, Sarah and I were having lunch and talking a little bit about the mental health and wellness program that was going to kick off here. We also sort of dived into the fact that several of our coworkers and friends here in the Denver market had recently passed away. And at that moment, it came to me, and I was like, hey, maybe we should bring Mickey in. And Sarah was like, that is a great way to kick off this month. So I'm really honored to have you here. And I'd actually like to just take a quick moment of silence to recognize the people that we know passed away here recently, but also those that you all know that have struggled with addiction and have probably, many of whom are not with us anymore. So we'll take just a minute. Thank you. So we're going to kick off. We're going to get Mickey talking now, and he loves to talk, just so you know. So I want to tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up founding Ben's Friends.
I'll give you the short drunkalogue.
Do we need a mic?
Can you hear me?
We do need a mic, yes.
Hello, I love you. Won't you tell me your name? Anyways, a short drunkalogue. I bought my first restaurant with money that I made selling a lot of drugs. I fell in love with restaurants passionately. I fell in love with the magic of making people feel good. But I also found the restaurants a safe haven for my addiction. Restaurants didn't make me an addict, but restaurants gave me a place where I could be an addict and not be an outcast. And I lost my first restaurant to alcohol and drug addiction in 1982. I ended up dead in an emergency room, having my heart jump started. I ended up in a straitjacket in a nut house. That was the final straw. I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid of going nuts and being like the people that I saw. And on December 14th, 1982, I made a decision that I could no longer live with alcohol and drugs, and it was a bitch. It was a struggle to quit. Let me tell you, anybody says I can just stop, they're not an addict. It was a long, hard haul. But what happened was I made a decision. My first restaurant was a nightclub dinner house, and a jazz club, and I made a decision that I couldn't go back to the bar scene, and I chose to go to fine dining. And so I had a 38-year career in fine dining, sober. And unfortunately, I was here during the era of the 80s when the parties were just insane. The celebrity chef became a big thing. The drugs and alcohol were rampant. And I started watching people die. And for years, I saw great talents in our industry ruin their lives or take their lives due to alcohol and drugs. I said last night in 1996, I was featured in an article. Am I talking too much? No. I was featured in an article in Nation's Restaurant News on Addiction, and nobody, it was a center spread, and nobody reached out to me. Something's happening in the industry. We've seen so many people die that people are taking notice. And my partner, Steve Palmer, who I said owns 35 restaurants, 10 hotels, who the shit knows? I have no idea. We kept talking about in Charleston people dying. And two things happened for the creation of Ben's Friends, and then I'll shut up. Two things happened. Number one, I was doing a dinner for some major celebrities in the food world. Danielle Boulou, Andrew Carmelini, Ruth Reichel. I mean, a list of icons. And the kid who cooked the meal that day went home that night after cooking for his icons and his heroes, and he drank and drugged himself to death. His name was Drew Tucci, and I was devastated. 3 weeks later, a young man was working for Steve, my partner, named Ben Murray. And Ben Murray was helping him open a restaurant in another city, didn't show up for work, and Steve went and found him in the hotel room dead, surrounded by bottles and bags of dope. His name, as I said, was Ben Murray, and that was when Ben's Friends was formed. Our mission solely, we're here to talk about wellness, and I can do that. But our mission in particular is about helping anybody in this industry struggling with alcohol or drugs. And we do it through, as Sarah said, national Zoom meetings every day. We do it through live meetings in 27 or 8 cities now, and I'm hoping somebody here gets the message, because we'd love to start a chapter in Denver, a live chapter. And we do it by talking about community. And that's what Ben's Friends is. Did I answer your question too long?
No, you did a good job.
I can go on for hours, so just tell me to shut up.
I have a couple more.
Okay.
So I think many of us in this room either work in and with people in the hospitality industry, and I think one of the key components is identifying people that potentially have an addiction and how do you approach those conversations and start that dialogue that allows for better things to happen?
John Bush was an employee. I am openly admitting to you that I failed countless people in this industry, and I get teary-eyed when I talk about it. I talk about John Bush, who was an employee of mine years ago, who came into work drunk and, excuse me, I said, get the fuck out of here and don't come back. I imagine that every restaurateur in this country has had somebody come in drunk and said, get the hell out. And I did it, and John went on to die from his addiction. I happen to believe the word conversation is the most important thing. We restaurant people live in a high-stress environment. We have short labor, we're struggling for labor. Our profit margins are high. The stress from the customers is high. We have to treat our employees with the same love and care that we treat our customers, and that starts with communication. And it is so essential when you see an employee who all of a sudden is showing up disheveled, who's not showing up on time, who's having issues with other staff members when before they didn't, who's getting a little bit short with customers, who's getting sloppy with their side work and all of the things that they're supposed to do. The signs are obvious, let alone the smells. I mean, let's be honest. You know when somebody's been drinking 80, 90% of the time. Instead of us as an industry discarding people, we need to start talking to them. We need to start asking. As a restaurateur, I asked my customers, what did they want? What were you looking for? When I wanted to create a special event, I talked to people about what kind of experience they would like to see. I need to talk to my employees the same way. What's going on? What can I do? I noticed that as of late, you've just not been on your game. You've been falling behind on your side work. You've been showing up late. What is it that's happening, and how can I help you? The biggest and most important thing with your employees is communication. No question about it. I have a lot of HR directors around the country call me up, and I talk to them about finding out what it is that's putting the stress on the employee that's causing them to drink and drug the way they're doing, and talk about it openly.
No, I think that's very helpful, and empathy, right? Showing a little empathy, understanding, knowing that there may be things that are outside of what's going on in those four walls that are impacting and affecting them. I think the next question is really about, as an employer, how do you walk that line of both accountability as well as accommodation as you go through this process? Because as you are well aware, and I think most of us in the room are, we maybe solve that problem for a moment, but it potentially comes back.
My partner and other restaurateurs around the country have started sobriety agreements, signing agreements with their employees that once the employee has had an issue, that the employee go to a meeting of their choice once or twice a week, and they sign a sober contract. The reality is that you have to hold the employee accountable. And if you continue to see, I'm not saying eventually you may have to, part ways with the employee, but if your conversations are not helping, you have to keep ratcheting it up. Seth, we talked about this once before. God, I want you here. You're so valuable to me. But here's what's happening. If this continues to happen, here's what I have to do, As opposed to what I did 20 years ago. Get the hell out of here. You know, I'm ashamed of myself for doing that. I bet you others have done it too.
Yeah, it's a growing process, and I think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was standard. That wasn't, there were no conversations happening. It was, this is how it works. This is what I need. You're not delivering. You got to go.
Yeah. Can I add 10 or 15? Hello. 10 or 15 years ago, we didn't have these conversations. 10 or 15 years ago, restaurateurs were not looking at what they could do for the employees. Today, there are countless things that you as a restaurateur can do. There's EAP programs that maybe cost you $10, $15, $20 an employee a month, giving employees access to personal help. There's cutting out drinking in your restaurant. I mean, what the fuck? There are still restaurants. I know of a restaurant in San Francisco where every night before the shift, Steve, are you listening? Every night before the shift, the team takes a shot of booze before the shift to go. You cut out the alcohol use in your restaurant. You create things like making employees sit together for family meals and talking. There's restaurants creating run clubs that, I mean, that's becoming a big thing all around the country. There's restaurants doing yoga clubs. Create environments for your employees that promote wellness, that promote being in a better place.
That sounds so simple.
Kristen, am I doing okay?
So
it is simple.
Well, let's talk about that. Tell us a little bit about how the meetings work, what topics are discussed, and also how do we start a Ben's Friends chapter here in Denver?
I'll start with the last part first. We like to have 2 sober people in the industry with 2 years of sobriety each. That is what we're primarily looking for. We want those people to come to the national meetings to get a feel of what we're doing, to make sure that they're in tune with what we are. We are not a 12-step program, and I want to address that. AA saved my life. Plain and simple, if AA hadn't have been there, I would have been dead. That's not like an exaggeration. It's just a fact. But the reality of the matter is, at 24 years old, I knew I was an addict. I had written a letter to my brother at 21 saying I was a drug addict, alcoholic, and I don't know how to make this stop. At 21 years of age. From 24 to 30, I went to the gates of hell. And I tried AA a dozen plus times, and I couldn't connect. I couldn't connect for a number of reasons. Number one, it's a God-based program. I'm an atheist. I really wasn't interested. Number two, it's a program they talk about working the step. Fuck this, I don't want to work. I work enough. And number three, there were a lot of people who look like me today, old and white. And you know what? I got a bunch of tattoos on my neck, and I got a hole in my ear, and I'm partying all night long. I can't relate to you. So we created Ben's Friends as an alternative, but I want everybody to hear this. If your employee wants to go to AA, encourage them. Offer it as an alternative, because it is a viable, solid program that has helped millions of people around the world. Ben's Friends is a community, and we help people sober by giving them peers who have done it before them, showing them that it can be done. AA, by the way, usually encourages restaurant people to quit the business. I was told at least 50 times in my first year, get out of restaurants. You can't do this. Bullshit. I did it for 40 years sober, and I did it well. And it can be done, and we want restaurant people to know that it can be done. And more importantly or not more importantly, but equally as important for the industry. Let's be honest, we can't afford to lose employees. I don't want to lose somebody at a time when I don't have the staff to open up for lunch for 7 days. We have to figure out ways to keep our employees here. And AA tells them to get out of the industry. That, to me, is wrong.
And I think that goes along with the next question, which is, in many cases, substance abuse is one piece or part of that puzzle. There's also potentially mental health or other resources that are needed. How does Ben's Friends support that? What are there recommendations that you have or places that you recommend people go? Tell us a little bit about that.
Where's Aaron Boyle? Aaron, where are you? You have organizations like CHOW who work. Listen, I want to make it very clear. Ben's Friends, we are not therapists. We are not psychologists. We're just a bunch of addicts who know how to get straight. And our focus is 100% on addiction. The truth is there are countless great organizations there right now out in public. There's CHOW, there's 9 to 5, there's Southern Smoke that provides mental health assistance and financial. There's Giving Kitchen. There's, Aaron, help me, there's Herd. There's all kinds of organizations that are based in the restaurant industry to help the restaurant employee with mental health. We partner and send people, especially to Giving Kitchen and Southern Smoke, because they financially help employees who need assistance. But I said something at the beginning. I talked about EAP, Employee Assistance Programs. I think every restaurant should look at it. It's the least we can do for our employees. For an employee to be able to they don't want to talk to you. They want anonymity. They don't want to say, hey, I'm an addict. So you have these EAP programs where they can pick up the phone and call somebody and ask for help. It doesn't cost you a lot of money. You know, it adds up, but it's not that much.
And at the end of the day, like you said, it can fundamentally change someone's life. So, music. You came in, you were singing this morning. I know there's an aspect of music to Ben's Friends for new members. Tell us a little bit about that. And play us some music.
So hold on. This is just me. Hear me clearly. This is just me. I remember, I remember when I was early in sobriety, my first 6 or 9 months were miserable. Absolutely miserable. I had been the owner of the restaurant. I owned an oceanfront home in Newport Beach, California. I lost everything. Everything. The drug dealers came in, they stole my stereo, they took furniture. I mean, I lost everything. And my first 6 to 9 months, I didn't know, let's be honest, I had been using since I was 13 or 14 years old. I had never gone on a date sober. I had never sat at a dinner table sober. I had never gone to a wedding, a party, a birthday, anything sober. And here I am trying to navigate this new world, and I hated it. I hated it passionately. Truly, I remember a story with my sponsor, and if anybody in the room's heard me say it on nationals, I apologize. I had this old fart. He was as old as I am now. He was 37 years sober, and I didn't want to socialize with anybody. I hated it. I hated it. And I remember he called me up and he said, "Kid, how are you doing?" And I said, "Ray, if this is sobriety, this fucking sucks. I hate it." And he said, "Let me ask you a question." And he asked me a series of questions like, Are you going to meetings early and talking to people? Are you picking up the phone and calling people? Are you staying and helping with the meetings after? Blah, 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 blah. I said no to everyone, and Ray said to me in his infinite wisdom, "Suffer, you son of a bitch," and he hung up the phone. A true story. But Ray also told me that I needed to put some music, upbeat music in my life. And I have held that all throughout my 41 years of sobriety. And with some people, it depends on how they connect, because I can't do it with all. But I'm just going to read you a couple of my corny texts. I send new sober people, because they send me songs. They're the most depressing things in the world. I want to take a hammer to my toe. It'd be more fun than listening to their music that they listen to. So I send things. My first day, for me, a key to sobriety has been maintaining a positive attitude on a daily basis. Years ago, I started to listen to music that made me smile first thing every morning. So here's to jumping in to a new way of life. I send them Van Halen's Jump. On day 2, we is the foundation of my sobriety. On my own, I am screwed, but I can achieve anything with a little help from my friends. And day 3, I won't do it all. Day 3, I do gratitude is a cornerstone of sobriety. Instead of the negative we lived with, forcing ourselves to think of the positive is essential to staying sober. So wake up and realize each and every day that it's a beautiful morning. And I send them the Rascals. And I do this for 7 days and try to change them. I believe music, like many, music is unconditional, a healer. The Eastern cultures believe that it's God speaking to us, especially in Hindu. I believe that it's a healer, so I use music a lot. Let's dance, doo-doo, ba-da-da-da-da.
I love that, and it's true. It is true. Just in life, music really can change your brain. The last question I have, and then we're going to open it up to the audience.
That's it? I thought I'd have lots of questions. Come on, Seth.
I have sort of gone through my list, but that doesn't mean that our folks in the audience don't have some questions. I want to make sure.
I'll ask myself some questions.
I believe you.
Because I've been curious about the answers for a long time.
I can hardly wait. Hardly wait. So the last one is, we've got some industry folks in the room. How can they today leave here and make an impact and change?
On the desk over there is a little postcard about Ben's Friends. I ask everybody in this room, every restaurateur in this room, and every OpenTable person to tell your restaurants. Send us an email. We will send you a flyer for the national Zoom meetings. And instead of, pointing out to your employee that they have a problem, talk to your employees as a group and say, we found this organization. It is 100% free, and you don't need to tell me if you're going, but there's a poster on the wall that will get you to an organization that's made up of chefs, line cooks, bartenders, servers, hosts, GMs, owners of restaurants all around the country. And I say with enormous pride, we now have people coming from Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, Amsterdam, Berlin, Barcelona, and London. And that's sort of fucking cool.
I do have one more question.
I swear, did you notice that? A lot.
A lot. Well, and this kind of goes back to that, which is, how many chapters do you have currently, and where in the world are they located?
I don't know. I really don't know exactly. I think it's 26 now, and they're located from New York to Portland, Oregon, to Seattle, to Austin, to Detroit, to Miami, they're all over. So they're not in Denver. All restaurateurs, hear me. All I need is you to connect me with one sober person for a couple of years, then I'll leave the work to that person to find the second person. We will come to Denver to launch the meeting. We will do all the PR to get the word out. We'll work with all of your EatDenver and your restaurant associations to spread the word, but we need the leaders. We need the leaders, so I'm begging you, let's find somebody, because here's what I say, if you help us save one person, it's a gift. It's a gift, and I get emotional because I know that we are saving people. I want to tell you a quick story, can I? Yeah. I love this industry. I am retired, and I dream about walking through a dining room every frickin' day. I miss it. I miss the way it feels when I walk through a room and the breeze hits my cheek as I walk up to a guest to try to shake a hand. I miss what it is to put my hand on somebody's shoulder and see them smiling. I miss passionately the hugs at the front door as they're walking out. I miss watching them across the room laughing and having fun. I miss two people coming in miserable and walking out happy and seeing them hold hands. I miss the magic of a chef screaming like an idiot. Like an idiot, let's face facts. Screaming like an idiot, and yet the food coming out beautifully. I miss it with all of my heart, and I just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
You got it. You crushed it.
Yeah, no, but I was talking about something. I just, go on.
No, you were talking about what people could do to move things forward today.
Yeah, just get me somebody to do it. And again, I lost my train. I was on a great train. It was going somewhere important, and I lost it. It'll come back. But do find somebody. We will come here and help them get it started. And I promise you, you will help save blood. Oh, I was talking about the one story. I love this industry. I don't want to see people who love this industry leave because they're afraid to be behind a bar or to open a bottle of wine or to go into a cooler and see big boxes of bulk wine that they're cooking with. I don't want them to be afraid. I want them to be able to do what they love. 3 years ago, a young lady in Los Angeles by the name of Brittany called me up. She was just getting sober. She called me because she didn't know that she could possibly go back to work, and she was struggling with the thought of being in a restaurant again. Did you know no, I won't do that. She was struggling with the concept of being in a restaurant again, and she called me up, and we talked for some time. She was scared to death of going back to work. And I tell you this story with tears in my heart and full of joy. A year ago, Brittany was made the managing director of a major steakhouse in Hollywood. She was scared to death and didn't want to go back. Because of Ben's friends, Brittany is now running a major restaurant in Southern California as the operating managing director. That's the gift that we get when we get sober people, restaurant people, out of their addiction and into sobriety. That's what you as restaurateurs get. I will tell you this, arrogant little son of a bitch that I am. I was a great employee when I was an employee because I was the only one that wanted to work. When I waited tables the first couple of years after losing my restaurant, I took every last table. I never said no. I didn't want to miss work. And I gave 1,000%. Never came in hungover. Always came in enthusiastic. And I sang. What more can you ask for?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think one of the underlying principles here is just giving people hope. Right? Just starting with I hear you. I see you. There are options, and so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I think Sarah has a mic, and hopefully there are some questions.
Ask questions. I
Please.
love them. Like when I do these things. By the way, before Sarah gets to the questions, I want to personally thank EatDenver again for bringing me here. Thank you, ladies, so very much. I want to thank OpenTable for their nationwide sponsorship. They send out an email to every OpenTable customer telling them about Ben's Friends. I can't tell you. They are supporting us financially to help us grow. So I want to all of the OpenTable people here, it started with a conversation with him. It took a long-ass time, but it really came to pass. So thank you, OpenTable. Sarah, thank you for saying yes to me coming.
On that note, OpenTable, you can add us. This is Erin Boyle with Chow. You can add us to that newsletter too. We'll help where we can. So
Thank you.
Mickey had asked if I could jump in with other resources, and since he probably doesn't know about this one is Colorado specific. I just want to say I've got coasters here. So there's a group called Kesed Wellness that offers pro bono therapy to folks in the hospitality industry, and they have an outpatient recovery program. So if you just want flowers, there are flower seeds in the coasters, so take one, use the QR code or don't, and have some flowers.
Thanks, Erin.
Yes, hello. You talked about addiction from the perspective of management, ownership, but as someone who had an addiction, what was that like becoming sober, and what is that like in your life today?
Be more specific. What is being sober like?
What is it? Yeah, how does it feel like to have an addiction but being sober when you first became sober versus how does it feel today? Still having an addiction but being sober.
Have you looked at this face? Seriously, have you looked at this face? I'm the most boring, dull, drab guy you've ever met. Literally, Sarah probably knows a lot of the people that I've pulled off the floor. I imagine a lot of the people that I pulled off the floor through the years. Being sober in this industry has been nothing less than a joy. I say it this way, I have a home that's more than I need because I'm sober. I had a career that was greater than anything I ever dreamt because I was sober. I have friends scattered all over the world because I'm sober. I have a wife who tolerates me because I'm sober. I have riches that I never dreamt of because I'm sober. What it's like to be sober in this world today is nothing but a gift. I don't know if that's answering your question, but it wasn't that way for the first few years. And I want to tell everybody, there is no getting sober and walking in, da-da-da-da-da-da. It don't work that way. Getting sober is a struggle. It is a struggle, and it is hard, and I don't care if it's drugs or if it's alcohol or if it's gambling. It doesn't matter what it is. Getting sober is painful. There are days you just don't want to go forward. There are days you just want to fucking use, and it hurts. But when you push through and you get to true sobriety, 41 years, and I still marvel that my life is getting better.
Love that.
Come on, please.
I
make
have
me
a question.
Oh, hi,
Sorry.
Sarah.
I say.
Be careful when you give me the mic.
I'm Jewish. I know about that.
I pulled up in my car. Mickey was outside. I was listening to Houses of the Holy, probably louder than I should. Mickey pulled his AirPods out and he was listening to Led Zeppelin. I can't remember the song, but going back to your soundtrack, what Led Zeppelin song would you use to help encourage folks who are on their sobriety journey?
You know, it's funny, I've never used a Led Zeppelin song.
What are you waiting for?
I gotta tell you, I have to think about that one. I use stupid, corny songs. And I will admit, songs that I might not even like. Are you ready for this? Justin Timberlake's I've Got a Feeling. The Black Eyed Peas, Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night. Everything has to be an upbeat, ditty sort of song. But I'm going to get back to you because I'm going to contemplate the Led Zeppelin one. But let me just tell you, listening to Led Zeppelin 1, man, oh man, oh man, they were brilliant. Who else? Just know that you feed me by asking questions. You really do, because then I think maybe I said something that you liked. In the middle with the glasses, young lady. Oh, that's really tough.
Do you have a question?
You'll make one up.
What advice do you have to a new restaurant owner in general?
In general, get ready to buckle up your pants, tighten your belt, and know that it's nothing less than a roller coaster, a high-speed roller coaster. Opening a restaurant is, for anybody who's done it in this room, opening a restaurant is hell in its one way, and it's magic in the other. But the hell prevails in the first month. Let me tell you, the last restaurant I opened myself was called Tribute. It was in Farmington Hills, Michigan. I literally slept on the benches, night after night, and woke up in the middle of the night going, what did I miss? What did I miss? What did I do? Then going through the hiring, then going through the flow of service. It's mind-boggling crazy. I just talked to a friend who opened a restaurant, and he said, I'll see you in 6 months. And that's right. We have to give everything. So you have to be prepared for the roller coaster. That's the best advice I can tell you. And reach out to your customers. Shake hands, kiss cheeks, give them business cards, invite them in.
Sort of along those same lines, when you think about the culture of restaurants, you mentioned a few things from insurance or opportunity. Are there some things culturally that you would say, hey, this is going to help employees align with the idea of we're here to support you from a sobriety standpoint? You talked about some things not to do. Are there some things that you should implement?
Yeah, you know, I mean, what is it? Something like 37% of restaurants around the country offer health insurance. I mean, it's pretty low figure. I understand the economics of restaurants completely and totally. But I also realize that our system is broken in a lot of spots. We, you know, in our kitchens, if I think about the people that I paid $10 an hour to for so long, and I look back and I think, how the hell did they survive? You know? And I don't know the answer because I know, I was just had on the TV this morning, and there was a talk about prices rising in food, in fast foods, because California is going to $20 an hour. I think Colorado's going way up. I understand the economics, but we have to figure out how to provide the basic necessities for those who work their asses off for us. I could be the greatest maitre d' in the world. I could be the greatest chef in the world. I could be the greatest boss in the world. But you know what? If my employees are feeling like they're not respected, We talked about it last night. I think Mariel and I were talking side about it has to start on the top. We have to look at ways to do it. So I mentioned the EAP programs. I think they're essential. I mentioned, starting positive clubs, taking your staff out on a hike, on a day off, doing things that build team together in a positive way, not having everything based around let's get fucked up. That's a start. If you can't afford the insurance, well, when somebody has problems, ask them how you can help them. Steve, my partner, he started a thing, well, his company's big now, but he started a thing where they are giving loans to employees who want to buy their first home. They're loaning them the down payment. Did you know that, Sarah?
No, it's incredible.
It's
I wish I would have known that when I bought my house.
It's incredible, but he is constantly looking at ways that every single employee that gets married under his employment, under his company, every single employee gets a $2,500 check that gets married. A thank you for what you do. Please go enjoy. We think, I think it was Kristen actually said she was reading Will Guidara's book last night. And obviously there's all kinds of things in unreasonable hospitality about what we can do for customers. But there's countless things we can do for our employees. We might not be able to afford the health care, but you know what? It's their birthday and you send a bunch of flowers to their house saying, I appreciate you, happy birthday. Little things matter in life. Little things matter. Oh, come on. Oh, I see a hand right there. Stand up. Tell us your name. Where are you from? And what is your wish? I was a talk show host at one time.
So my name's Michelle, and we actually own a Central American restaurant. But my question is, how can we squeeze some hike time when we're open 7 days a week? We have a morning shift, a night shift, and I don't really have either group together. But Sunday, and that's our craziest day.
I got to tell you, that's a great question. I don't have the answer except make your group smaller. Make your group smaller. Say, you know what, on this Tuesday, anybody not working, we're doing this. On this Wednesday, anybody not working. There's always going to be some people that are off. I understand, and it's a challenge when you're doing 7 days, two meals a day. But there's got to be ways that you can find for people, on May 13th, we are having this for anybody who's off. On June 1st, we're having this for anybody who's off. Think of ways that you can get more people involved without closing the restaurant, is what I would say.
Right.
But that's a great question. Listen.
Thank you.
And I think, just coming from a perspective of management, I think one of the things that's hard is how do you take yourself out of the equation sometimes? It might be empowering one of your employees to be like, hey, or creating a fund committee where there's a group of people that are sort of in charge of this themselves, and then they own those opportunities and come up with these different plans. And so it doesn't take everybody out, but you've got a group of people that are really kind of rotating through and coming up with these great ideas and being the sponsors for those experiences. Yeah.
He's always been smarter than me.
Aaron? I also think, just to your point, that there is such limited time and scarcity in restaurants that look at EatDenver and the Restaurant Association and let them know that that's what y'all want, right? Like there's a lot of us here trying to help, and we want to do what works for you all. So if you let us know, this is really important, I bet one of the organizations here could help out.
Actually, Aaron, that's a great idea. EatDenver. Have you ever heard of them? Great. Talk to EatDenver about creating a couple of events that multiple restaurants can go. And it's a great. Thank you very much. And it's a great, it's a way to bring community together in the restaurant industry. I saw somebody else was going to raise. I want to say thank you because I didn't want to leave.
Hi, Mickey. Good to see you in person. I want to bring it back to Ben's friends a little bit. When I was first getting sober, I did do the AA. A lot of those meetings, they don't feel like you're connecting. And I wanted to let you know that Ben's friends definitely was the place that it felt like you're in a room with people you already knew. So anyone here that, well, everyone here probably knows someone, that lead them in the direction of Ben Friends, because it's a good opportunity to, you know, find people that are similar to your situation, and it definitely helps.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
so
you.
much for that. Thank you so much. You know, I think, are we wrapping up?
Yeah, we've got a few more minutes. I think we've got another question.
I'm just going to keep you here a little bit longer.
Oh, okay. I want to stay here. Honestly, don't make me go.
Mickey, I guess this is just like super curious, is like your thoughts on the positive aspect of having like an addictive personality. Because I know like I know a lot of people that have gotten sober, and I worked in a restaurant where an AA sponsor was the managing partner and brought in a lot of his sponsees, and I watched a lot of them get sober, and it was awesome. But what I've noticed is, and I personally, I have a fairly addictive personality, but I kind of try to find the benefits of it by like addictions to like healthier things. Like I love like fitness and nutrition, and I'm also like addicted to like greatness within my career. Do you ever kind of talk about like the benefits of like an addictive personality and how people can turn that around and like become addicted to like healthier things? Or do you think that they should find like a balance of like maybe not being so addicted to other things than drugs and alcohol?
You know, I got to tell you, I'm gonna make that a subject of a meeting. I really, really like that. You know, I talk about the positives of being an addict, but I don't talk about how to take the other traits. And I got to tell you, you just gave. What are you doing Sunday? Do you want to lead my meeting? No, I'm serious. We have people who listen. Addicts turn their addictions to other things. There's no question. I ate a pint of Ben & Jerry's every single night the first 5 years of my sobriety. I'm not making that up. But Chunky Monkey and Cherry Garcia, because those were the only two flavors that were packaged where I lived. Every single night. And I'll go you one better. I used to take a little bowl, fill it with hot fudge. I'd take a scoop of ice cream, run it through the fudge, and eat it every single night. My addiction became sugar. No question about it. Others have used it for yoga, others for running. We have a guy in Austin, Texas named Phil Spear who has a restaurant called Commodore. He's created a running club. Gabe Rucker in Portland has created a running club. And so they've taken their addictions. My concern is that knowing how to modify, knowing how to moderate, because like I know people who go to 15 AA meetings a week and they've been sober for 20 years. What kind of fucking life is that? You know, to me, that's crazy. But I do think that we can take positives and overdo it too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I've noticed is from watching a lot of people get sober is that like a lot of times they turn that around and they become like amazing at their job or like super into like fitness. So I was just curious like your thoughts on the benefits of having an addictive personality, because I think there are.
Well, as you can see, the fitness is a big thing with me. As you can.
It's not too late, Mickey.
Wait a second. I just, at 72 years old, hiked Zion. And I trained for it. I ate a half a pint of Ben & Jerry's a night but I truly did, and I felt fabulous about it. I want your subject as a subject for a national meeting. I like that. Thanks, and I don't think I answered you well, but I can't win them all, but I'm going to use your meeting subject.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have maybe time for one more question, and then we'll wrap up.
Anybody?
I'm going to ask a question that I kind of already know the answer to, but going back to Ben's friends again, are there any opportunities for people who are supporting somebody in addiction?
We have a meeting. We have a meeting on Fridays at 10 a.m. your time, Mountain Time, for siblings, spouses, friends to support. I will tell you that Al-Anon from AA is a phenomenal program. It really is. It helps a lot of people, but I, for those that are supporting people, go to the Friday meeting. It's really quite good, I'm told. They won't let me there. How's Tracy doing?
She's great.
Huh?
She's great.
She's great.
Yes.
Yeah, her husband is not too bad either.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, 15.6 million restaurant employees in the country today. Statistics say anywhere from 2.5 to 3 million of them have struggled with alcohol or drug abuse. Say that again, 2.5 to 3 million. Everybody in this room, I would wager to say, knows somebody that has a problem. And every restaurateur in this room absolutely knows someone. Ben's Friends is one way for them to find help. We will be here. We will help anyone. You send me somebody, I will have 3 or 4 people surround them in no time flat to help them get sober. Thank you for listening to me.